For most of the 20th century, LGBTQ people were forbidden from showing pride in their sexuality. They were forbidden from being who they are, but they fought back against persecution, police brutality, oppression. This is the history of pride in the United States in 6 minutes. Okay, go. Throughout most of the 20th century, activities associated with being anything but heterosexual and gender conforming were against the law. As an increasingly visible gay culture began to grow, so did police raids of gay spaces. Police force was used to suppress the acceptance of the queer and trans community and enforce a conservative agenda. Dating back to the early 1900s, violent raids spread across America, especially in cities like New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. A popular location to target were bars and bathhouses where gay people gathered. Over time, hundreds of people were arrested and beaten just for existing within these spaces, since activities associated with queerness were criminalized. In the 1930s, in what is now Miami-Dade County, a venue not unlike the spaces we have the freedom to create and occupy today existed. La Paloma nightclub was a space for burlesque-like performances by both women and female impersonators, as well as a space for effeminate male performers. Most of the staff and patrons were queer and or gender nonconforming folks. One of the club's visitors described it as a scene for homosexuals in evening gowns and trousered lesbians, as well as sex workers. On a November night in 1937, a group of nearly 200 men and women associated with the KKK stormed the nightclub, violently attacking the people inside while dressed in their long, white hooded robes and burning their fiery cross. Later, local law enforcement conducted their own raid of La Paloma. Given the time period, it's likely that the same authorities who raided as police had already attacked while their identities were concealed with the KKK. Despite the violent vigilante and police raids, La Paloma reopened with new programming that the manager described as spicier entertainment than ever. And that's just one example of the dozens, maybe hundreds of violent incidents that targeted the LGBTQ community for decades leading up to 1969. So what made the Stonewall Riots of 1969 such an iconic turning point for gay liberation? Well, in the 1960s, the West Village in New York City became somewhat of a gathering place for gay people and home to many underground gay venues. The Stonewall Inn was particularly known for being a place where trans people, drag queens, and homeless queer youth could gather safely. It was considered a safe space not only by the nature of being for queer people, but also because it gave young homeless queer individuals a place off the streets to be. In the days leading up to the riots, tension between the NYPD and the community was building. A few days prior, police raided Stonewall, harassing the patrons. Their goal was to shut the inn down. The LGBTQ community was growing tired of the brutality and oppression they were facing for simply existing. In the early hours of June 28, 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn again, leading to the arrests of 13 patrons. As the patrons were being removed from the venue, a crowd gathered, questioning the police's authority, resulting in violent conflict. Many note a lesbian as one of the first people to fight back against the police that night, with some believing her to be Stormy DeLavier. DeLavier, a biracial butch lesbian, became known to be something of a guardian to lesbians in the city. Other prominent figures in the uprising were Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. Rivera was a Latina trans activist who was just 17 at the time. Marsha P. Johnson was an iconic figure in the NYC trans community and the Stonewall Riots. That night in 1969 was followed by 6 days of conflict and protest against the NYPD. By the following night, the news of the riots spread quickly across the city, and a group of about 2,000 protesters began to gather. What occurred was a direct confrontation between the police and protesters. The cops used fire hoses and threatened gun violence, while the crowd chanted and sang for liberation. Further acts of defiance involved the crowds holding hands and engaging in other displays of affection, boldly, as these could have been considered criminal activities at the time. Overall, 21 people were arrested during the riot. Within several weeks, the New York Mattachine Society, one of the earliest LGBT organizations in the United States, led a gay power march throughout the city, drawing a crowd of hundreds. Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera went on to found STAR, Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, an organization that served to aid homeless and runaway trans youths, as well as other LGBTQ individuals. They also rallied against racism, sexual violence, and transphobia. A year after the Stonewall Riots, on June 28, 1970, the first Pride Parade was held. The first march gave the community a chance to memorialize the uprisings that had occurred on Christopher Street the year before. It's reported that the march started with just a few hundred people in downtown New York, but swelled in size as it made its way uptown towards Central Park. Displaying gay pride at this time was still a bold act, and it's said that at the beginning of the march, many were worried about their safety, so they moved swiftly through the streets. Today, Pride celebrates the strides the community has made since that first public display of gay pride in 1970. We march in June to honor those who came before us and took to the streets, demonstrating against centuries of abuse, government hostility, and discriminatory laws.